What's up, everyone? Welcome to day 2 of our E3 2019 discussion and, recap, whatever. It's late. So you might notice a bit of a different setup here. We got Steve, we got John, and basically we couldn't get the audio quality we wanted the first time. So what we're going to do is have a rotating lineup of people come in, give their thoughts about the games they played, and then rotate out. So forgive the very possible awkward movements back and forth, but we're going to try to group ourselves together as efficiently as possible. So let's begin with, the three of us got to see the demo for Avengers. Didn't get to play it. It's not playable at all. Right. But we did get to see a demo and actually, how it actually plays. So fellas, what'd you guys think?
I was not impressed. So, the Avengers wasn't really shown in their conference. They showed the cutscenes, they showed the characters, but the actual gameplay itself was kind of kept under wraps. And the way I describe it is it's kind of a 3D brawler. Not really in the sense of Arkham Asylum, which had like exploration in between the fights. This was just fight after fight. And I wasn't really feeling it.
Yeah, I agree. John and I were in the same demo. Derek had one later in the day. And I kind of looked at John and I was like, this doesn't look so great, does it? And it's, to be clear, it's not the character models that are necessarily off-putting, although I don't think those are necessarily great, but it was just mechanically not a very interesting game to watch. Let alone, it didn't leave me with any desire to see more or play it or anything. I was fine just getting up and leaving after it was over. And I think that kind of speaks to the fact that it's just not all that interesting, especially given how long they've been working on it.
Yeah, and even as a Marvel fan, I found the characters a bit weird. Not their designs, just their mannerisms.
Yeah.
Like, Thor and Hulk were killing people in this game. Yeah. They're on the ground unconscious, but they like throw a car at them. They whack them with a hammer.
Hulk grabs one guy and just slams around and uses it to whack other guys. Yeah. And then he has one move where he grabs two guys and smashes them together to create a shockwave. Those guys are dead.
Yeah, they're humans, and they're bad guys, but they're still humans.
Yeah, and those guys are definitely dead. There's a moment where Thor throws Mjolnir at a guy, pins him to a truck, and you hear his bones crunch, and then they're like, he's okay.
I missed that because when I went to this whole thing, my audio didn't work for the first 5 minutes. I got the one unit that had screwed up audio, and so the producer's rushing to try to get me the thing fixed out. So I missed a lot of the early dialogue and stuff like that. But even what I did see, I know what they're trying to do with this. This demo is absolutely the beginning of the game. Sure. It's trying to do what Spider-Man PS4 did by showing, hey, here's all the characters. Here's what they can do. It's a little taste of each of them. Here's what you can expect. It's a good introduction. It's high action. You have a boss fight pretty quickly with Taskmaster. But when I talked with John, he's like, yeah, but the difference is you're just punching people. It's different ways of punching people.
Right, like Spider-Man opens using all of his abilities, right? You really get a sense of what Spider-Man is. Every character in the Avengers is a punchy punch. They'll just go around punching people. So the thing is, they all share the same abilities, and they have some unique abilities. They have L2 and R2 do their unique things. So for Captain America, I think L2 throws his shield and R2 is block. And for Black Widow, R2 is her gun. L2, I can't even remember what that was. But basically that's what it is. And so they all start feeling very similar. And I guess that sort of makes it a bit more intuitive, maybe.
But you are having a lot of characters.
Right,
so.
But it's also a bit more boring, because you don't really get a sense of what the characters can really do.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I felt like one thing that really threw me, and John, it was something you mentioned that I didn't think about until after we got out, but Iron Man's flying section seemed to very much be on rails. It didn't seem like you could just take flight as Iron Man and use his abilities to the fullest. They also spammed the heck out of the Unibeam during that thing. He used it 5 times.
Right. He did not use that much. He had 2 or 3 times.
So. A bit of hyperbole, but he used it way more than I would expect him to.
It's very scripted. There's points like the on-rails flying sections, you'll just go straight into it, and you don't really have much control over where you go at all. And even the progression of the game, you're always going in a straight line. So I guess this is just meant to be like a high action, moment to moment.
You're on the Golden Gate Bridge, so there's not really a lot of other places to go to.
Yeah, but
they tried to get some platforming in there with Hulk. They gave Black Widow the boss fight with more dodging and stuff like that. Seeing Captain America's shield fly around, it's cool in its own way. I think this could improve, but it's just not there. It's not like something's missing.
One thing I was concerned about was how they're going to do Black Widow, because you got like Iron Man flying around with guns, you got Thor with Mjolnir just sort of swinging everywhere, and Black Widow is basically a spy. And my concerns came even further seeing the demo, because she has a boss fight, and the way it works is she dodges some incoming shots, and then just goes pew 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 pew, and then like you dodge the shots again, go pew 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 pew, and that's the entire boss fight. And it lasts like 5 minutes.
Yeah, you get a couple of hits and like wear him down, and like I mean, there's banter, and the banter's not great.
Oh yeah, Thor's banter's not great. Thor is basically a Viking in this game. And in the Thor movies, Thor's the most interesting when he got out of his shell. This is like reverting back to the first Thor. Maybe even more Vikingish than that.
Yeah. Thor in particular was pretty off-putting to listen to. And it's not just, it's poor writing. It's really not that whoever is voice acting him, I forgot, is doing a poor job. It's really that they have a not so great script to work with.
Poor direction. Yeah. Agreed.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, the banter between Thor and Tony Stark is particularly cringy at certain moments. Like it's just. I felt bad for myself listening to it.
Right, and you have like civilians going, "Thank you, Thor. Thank God you're here, Thor." And it just feels really, really rough.
Yeah. It
could turn out good.
Yeah, it could definitely. Like again, early showings of Spider-Man, people were like, I don't know. It feels very scripted and not sure about this. And then you play the game, it's great.
Right.
So I don't want to write it off. There is potential here. But this, I don't know. It's not the best first impression. I get what they were doing. It just didn't click.
It felt to me like a pre-Batman Arkham Asylum superhero game.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I could not put it better than that.
Yeah.
Right, well...
It's a superhero game before superhero games started to get good.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess on that note, anything else to say about Avengers, or should we just go spiraling on?
The last note I have is that, and again, right off of something you mentioned, John, Iron Man sounds like Nathan Drake in an Iron Man costume, and it's really, really, like, it creates a cognitive dissonance. I'm like, I'm listening to Nathan Drake right now.
I mean, obviously, it's the same voice actor, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
But he just sounds like Nathan Drake. And even his dialogue, it sounds like it's written for Nathan Drake.
Yeah, it's doing the thing that happened a lot for Nolan North after Uncharted, where it's just, we want the Nathan Drake voice, and we'll make you kind of snarky like Nathan Drake. And Nolan North can do a lot of other voices.
Right.
He can be unrecognizable, but they want him doing the Nathan Drake voice.
Right.
That's what he's famous for.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's all I've got. So
Okay.
I'll go ahead and make my way out of
Go
here,
away.
and we'll make
Get out of here.
Jog
Please. And for our next segment, we got Amy coming in. And the three of us actually got to play the Final Fantasy VII Remake. We got to join after Ash and Steve got to play it yesterday. We had another appointment. It looked like at first only I was going to be able to play. And I was like, all right, we'll have to pass off or something, which I wasn't really looking forward to because I'm like, I want to play it myself. But fortunately, we somehow ended up with enough units that all three of us could try it out. And I'm actually most interested in what you thought, Amy, because as Ash said yesterday, it felt very intuitive to just get right into it. And I felt the same way with this, but you don't really play these types of action-y RPGs that often.
Yes. It did not feel 100% intuitive to me. I've never had any kind of battle system like that where it's a mixture of the two. And I found myself pressing a button that I thought was an attack button, but it was a menu button. So I was getting in and out of menus a lot. Gorgeous appearance, though. It looked amazing. And I felt like I was having a lot of analysis paralysis moments because there were so many options. There was the regular attack, then there's the ability attack, and then there's the spells, there's items, like your standard JRPG fare, but the way it was scheduled out, I don't know. It wasn't 100% intuitive, but I did love switching between the two characters. That was a lot of fun. And I think by the end of it, I got a little bit better, but I definitely finished after these two because they were over my shoulder at the end, and that was very terrifying.
Oh, no.
The pressure was on there, like, you can do it. Like, yeah.
We believe in you.
I mean, yeah, you were a little slower, but you still beat it.
I did get both limits, too.
Yeah, which I
really
did not
cool.
see. I was like, you did one attack. I was like, what the heck was that? I didn't even see it. And, you showed off Barrett's limit break.
Yeah. So even though it wasn't 100% intuitive for me, it still was a lot of fun.
It felt like by the end it kind of clicked for you.
Yeah, like I didn't feel totally lost. It was more like the buttons kind of overwhelmed me. Like this button does this one does this. I couldn't keep in track of what was guard and what was doing attacks.
Sure.
Exactly.
A little bit rough on that edge, but
Yeah.
but otherwise it was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like cinematic playing through a movie. It was great.
Right. Every segment of this demo was polished to a shimmering gleam.
Yeah.
And if the entire game is like this, then I am
Oh
all
my
for this
God.
episodic nature because it
Yeah.
just felt so great. Like every single moment was brilliant.
I mean, it really feels like they're taking like singular ideas and just expanding upon
Right.
them immensely. Because the way Ash actually kept a few secrets from us before how it was all going, because like you have this little introduction movie
That
where
was really
Jesse gives you like, here's how you play, here's what you're expecting. But even before that, they set it up as if she's hacking the system.
Right.
And they have this like really cool fleshed out commercial for Shinra's like advertising Mako energy, clean, energy efficient. It's the wave of the future. It makes our lives better. And then it's like it's kind of cool to get that perspective of what the upper plate people do and how Shinra presents itself. That's not everybody's like, because in the original game everybody knows Shinra's evil. This you can kind of see like, okay, that's why they follow him.
Right. And mechanically, this is a remake that I think like respects the source material.
Yeah.
The combat system in particular, it still has a lot of elements of the traditional turn-based combat system in there. And I'm a person who's not really always into real-time combat, but this has a brilliant merge of both. And they both feel really good. So basically, you're always building up that bar. And when you use, eventually you can activate it and slow down time, and then use actual sort of turn-based inspired mechanics. And they always work really well.
Yeah.
And also they find great uses for juggling different characters. Like you
Yeah.
use Barrett for getting enemies in the air. You use Cloud for like a great powerful offensive moves.
Yeah.
And it just felt like this isn't just a remake for remake's sake. They've taken a new vision and approach to Final Fantasy VII, and they've delivered on it.
From what we've seen here, it feels like 7 services like, here's the outline of what we wanted to do. This is the fleshed out full version, which is just this it's definitely going to just be this massive epic by the way they're saying it. And I like how the combat just flows so easily, because I don't know how I did it, but an enemy got knocked up into the air and I kept pushing the square button, and as Cloud actually got into the air and started doing an air combo, juggling them. It was like, okay, this is cool. I'm down with that.
Like Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, a bit like that. I'm like, okay, this is feeling familiar. I did find myself accidentally hitting the X button, which is how you bring up the
Yeah.
action
Sure.
commands quite a bit. I just
That was me.
didn't quite always
It
click.
was like a
but-
habit.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the show floor, we saw some concept art for Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
And it made me like realize how true to form it is. Like, we saw like Aerith's house, and it looks just like the PS1 version.
Yeah, just expanded. And
Right.
It's just like we saw the church. We saw where you go within the church when you go into the rafters.
Yeah, everything is just as you remember, just bigger.
Yeah, fleshed out, like
More detail.
scaled to the size of the characters.
Yeah. So I'm really impressed by this.
Yeah.
I went into E3 not really having like that much sort of an idea of what they can deliver on with this remake,
Yeah.
and I'm going out of it. Like, this is my most anticipated game of the entire show.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is, I mean, favorite demo of the show floor. Like
Yeah.
once it ended, I'm like, I want to play again.
It was
Sure.
epic.
I just was ready for
It
it
just
again.
felt like one of those very epic, very memorable, it's going to stick with me type of situations. And I loved how it didn't feel like you could just play one character. They really made it feel like play them all. Like that's going to be really strategic.
It felt really good to switch. It was very quick, very
Yeah.
just-
Fluid, really
yeah.
fluid.
I have a feeling by
And the
end
banter,
of
too.
yeah, all the banter was really good. But we don't want to talk about that too much since we covered a
Yeah.
lot yesterday. So we're going to switch
good.
out again. So Amy and I are jumping out, and Ash and Steve, I think, are coming back in.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about some Switch ports, I believe, that you saw on the show floor, right?
Right, yeah. So I guess the first thing Steve and I should probably talk about is the Grandia HD Collection, which you and I both know. We both saw it at PAX West
yeah.
last year, and it looked like hot garbage. I was so
So
worried.
diplomatic.
That was heartbreaking to hear as well, because these
Yeah.
are some of the best games of all time.
Right, and I really got the sense that Gung Ho Entertainment did not know how important
Right.
Grandia was.
Absolutely.
As a series, as a legacy JRPG series, and I'm so happy to report, you and I both are, that it is an 150% difference.
Yeah.
This last year has made all the difference. Both games. We didn't see Grandia 1 at PAX West, We saw Grandia 2 and it looked awful.
Yeah.
So not only is Grandia 2 looking a lot better now, but Grandia 1, like they redid the textures look great. I will say it has that kind of effect that they do on some retro games where everything looks like it's kind of been slathered in oil.
Sure.
But it works in this case. Like I know I'm not usually a fan of that, of those filters in retro games where it looks like everything's been kind of slathered in suntan lotion or something. But in this one it works. I don't know. What did you think of the textures in Grandia 1? When you saw it?
So I don't have a ton of experience with Grandia 1, but it's a typical early PS1 era JRPG, meaning that it still uses 2D sprites. There's not a whole lot of 3D stuff going on there. The extent of the 3D effect is that you can rotate the camera around these sprites, right? And like Ash said, they look like upscaled 2D sprites, but it works. It makes it look more hand-drawn, really.
Right.
Normally I don't like that effect, but however Gung Ho applied it to Grandia 1 definitely worked for it.
Right. And they're also doing some great quality of life improvements as well. Like we found out there's going to be dual audio.
Nice.
Of course, various languages, but dual audio on both games, which is super neat. And they also, one of the coolest things I thought was that they took the original FMVs, like from both games actually, and they're not letterboxed. They actually extended the original art. So they appear in
changing without stretching it.
Right, without
Right.
stretching it. So it appears
Wow.
the way it's supposed to, but they expanded the original cutscenes on the side.
Oh.
So you don't get that letterboxed effect. And that was something that they actually told us, like, we don't like that about retro.
That's super
HD
hard to
retro.
do. Like,
yeah.
if I have to touch up
really
each frame
cool.
or re-render it, and
Yeah.
I doubt they have the source code for those movies still.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So I don't know how
that's
they
impressive.
did it, but
Yeah.
so that was really cool. And then one thing I noticed was that Grandia 2 was based on the PC version, which also means 60 frames per second battles. And I don't know about you guys, I played the Dreamcast version originally, and
Same.
it didn't perform that well in battles.
No.
So seeing Grandia 2's battles play out in 60 frames per second, now that was just in TV mode. They couldn't guarantee that would be in handheld mode as well.
Right.
But I have a feeling they might pull it off.
I think they will.
Yeah.
I mean, so I do want to back up a little bit and give some context to folks that didn't see our coverage of it at PAX West last year.
Sure.
It was in 4:3 with no borders and literally was missing textures and assets. So
Yeah.
when you would pull off some techniques, they just wouldn't appear because the files for them weren't there. It was a horrible state to show it off in. So Ash and I went in with incredibly low expectations.
Right. And not only that, sorry to interject, but not only that, I talked to the rep there, one of the reps there, and I said, hey, this seems like it has a lot of work to go. And they're like, oh, really? Like, you didn't like it? And I'm like, no. I mean, Grandia is really important. And they were like, oh, wow, well, that's good to know. And I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah.
They don't know what they've got. They don't know the gem they're sitting on. But apparently they learned in the past year. So,
Right.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I
Absolutely.
wanted to add that.
So just, we're adding some context here, but going back to it, all of that, literally all of it was fixed in the span of 1 year and improved upon. The textures were vastly improved. I mean, one look at it and you can recognize that a whole bunch of work has been put into this. And like Ash was saying, you've got the full screen, full motion video now, which alone seems like a Herculean task for an eShop only release, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the dual audio across both games. They even made it easy to switch between games on the fly without having to exit out of it. And
that's
back
a big
in,
one, yeah.
Which is, really great. And it was just, honestly, it's clear that they now understand the right way to handle these games. Right. And they're treating them with the utmost care. They wouldn't even commit to a release window because they said, we're going to take as much time as we need to make sure we get this right the first time.
Right.
Right.
And the thing is, they could have just relied on the namesake and said people are going to buy it because it's Grandia. Who cares if it's good or not?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Which I'm so thankful they didn't.
Yeah.
And one thing you may have noticed if you saw our direct feed footage today was that the Grandia 1's font is all beautiful HD. Like, they redid the font. It looks great. Grandia 2's, however, has some weird aliasing. Doesn't look quite right. And actually, the reason for that, though, it's not because they're not trying. The reason for that is that we found out that the font is baked into Grandia 2. So it's a lot harder for them to go in and change it and touch it up. So that may end up being a sticking point when the game actually does come out. The Grandia 2's font may look a little weird. But you know why? It's not because they were just like, we don't want to try.
Sure.
So
just leave it.
Just leave it. So I think Steve and I, for the Grandia fans out there, I know one of our favorite RPGs ever is Grandia 2. I'm going to be playing through Grandia 1 all the way for the first time. I played half of it before in the PS1 days. I'm so excited that they're doing this right.
Yeah, I'm going to be playing through it if for no other reason than out of the respect and care they've shown that they're taking for it.
Yeah.
I think it's worth it to try it. And they were very, clear, like, please play through 1. Don't just play 2. We know it's the more popular game. Please try 1 and make sure you experience it. And it's clear that, they put in so much effort that it's worth looking at.
Right.
Sure. So what else did you guys play today?
Well, actually, that reminds me. We also played another game at the same appointment that we were not expecting. It was the robot strategy game. Its name escapes me right now. I feel
it's
terrible.
Volta X.
Volta X, right. Okay, so this was interesting. It was a game that was just announced yesterday by Gung Ho, and it was like this robot versus robot, like giant robot versus giant robot, kind of strategy combat game where you have like 3 different crew people inside different limbs and parts of the giant robot.
Oh,
and depending on their different attributes, you want to send them to different, rooms to like take advantage of each room's different weapon or skill that's equipped. It kind of reminded me of like a tactical front mission almost.
See, the initial vibe that I got was actually it took me back to when I was a kid and I was watching old school Power Rangers, and they're fighting in the Megazord versus some kind of monster, and you see the Rangers in different parts of the Megazord, and they're getting rocked basically.
Right.
There's sparks everywhere. That was the image that it conjured in my mind. And if one part was damaged, you had to send as many people as you could spare over to that part to repair it. But then there was this risk where if all your people are in one spot, your enemy can attack that spot and kill the people inside.
Jeez.
And if your crew dies, then you lose.
Yeah.
And there were actually several ways to lose. You could destroy the head of the robot, which apparently everybody has to have a head, I guess.
And that's also very front mission. If you destroy the core, like the main body and front mission, you destroy them all completely.
Right. Yeah. So you could win on points, just points racked up via damage. You could win by killing the entire crew, which is a little macabre, but it works, I guess. Or you could destroy its head, which is completely natural, I suppose.
Sure.
Yeah. And to be fair, so go ahead.
Is this a Switch port or a brand new game?
Brand new game.
Oh, cool.
Brand new game and Switch console exclusive.
Oh,
Right,
wow.
right.
Okay.
About the macabre comment, you do although see your crew members, the person who loses sees their crew members crying like right out
Yeah.
of the portrait thing, so they're not actually dead. It's but they're cute little animals, so it is a little dark when
You're beating up an adorable turtle.
Right, exactly.
That's just sold me on the game there, Steve.
So yeah, we went to this apartment to play Grandia, but we were surprised with this cool little Volta X.
Yeah,
game
it was a nice
as well.
little additional showing that they didn't tell us about until we actually got there.
Yeah, and I think they said very late 2019 for that one.
Agreed.
Possibly, yeah.
But you know what, John? I did play another game.
Uh-oh.
All right, let's sell him.
Now, stop me if you've heard of this one before. It's a little game, little indie joint called Resident Evil 5. Have you played it before?
I think I might have. Just once or twice. Or
I'm not
thrice.
sure I believe you.
Yeah. So actually, I played Resident Evil 6 yesterday, and one thing you said to me was, John, this game does not have gyro controls. Now, Steve, you're not going to tell me this game doesn't have gyro controls either, are you?
They're suckers for consistency, John.
That'd be a great PR statement. Got to be consistent with these releases.
We've got to be consistent with leaving the things you love out of our games.
So does it hold up on Switch though? Like, is it just the
It
standards?
does. So Andre was with me, and he recorded me playing it, and we only got to play a very small portion. And it was kind of funny because it's a 15-minute time demo, and Capcom thought for some reason they were going to take up like a third of the screen with the timer, like letting you know you're running out of time, you need to leave. But I breezed through it in like 6 or 7 minutes. It wasn't too bad. You basically do the Chainsaw Man boss fight, which it was a whole ton of fun, right? I got to punch some dudes, I got to blow up heads, tentacles went everywhere. I shot a bunch of barrels, Zombie Man died, I got a guard key. I'm sure you've played it a billion times, but as far as I remember, I did play through the original Xbox 360 version all the way through to the end, and it seemed completely faithful. It ran at a consistent frame rate. If I had to guess, I'd say it was 30 frames per second.
Okay.
But there were no dips, there was no slowdown, and it looked every bit as pretty as I remember. Also, Ash may be infected.
Ash's infected with the Las Plagas.
I know. Maybe we should move.
All right, yeah.
Sorry.
Are you
I got a
alright?
bad itch in my throat. I'm so sorry, you guys.
You probably get out of there, Ash.
Well, I have one more thing to talk about.
If we should talk.
Sure. Are you sure?
I'm good. Let's do it.
From off camera.
Thank
Have some
you.
water.
Right, so
I was going to propose a headshot.
on Resident
so.
Evil 5.
Nice.
So I've got a few questions actually. So first of all, you said 30 FPS is interesting. The PS4 version runs at 60, and I believe it's 1080p on PS4 as well.
I think it was 1080p on Switch, but again, we're on the show floor. It's really hard to gauge these things.
Sure.
If I had to guess, it was 30, but again, that's all based off of a very hazy memory of a Rush demo. So.
And co-op on Switch would be really interesting because Resident Evil 5's B control scheme doesn't use the right stick at all. So you could just take off a Joy-Con, and I think it would work perfectly that way.
There is single Joy-Con play.
Nice.
So they showed us, and Andre and I immediately just imagined hand cramps as we saw all the things you could do with a single Joy-Con.
Yeah.
But it does work that way, and we did see a demo station next to us playing in co-op mode, and it looked same window arrangement, same everything. It again didn't seem to skip a beat. So I was pretty impressed performance wise. I would love to see gyro controls, but keep waiting.
I will say that it is nice to have have Sheva back.
Yes.
And even if it's obviously not in a new game, it's just nice to see her back in the spotlight again for however short a time. One thing about RE5 I wanted to mention to you, John, was RE6, as I mentioned yesterday, actually had pretty good HD rumble.
Right.
But apparently RE5 doesn't even have that.
They're also consistent in their inconsistency.
Which is really weird. So I don't know what's going on there. I think one thing I have to get in there before we talk about the rest of the stuff is that I did get to see some off-screen footage of Mega Man The Wily Wars today on the Genesis Mini. And there's not a whole lot to say about that except it is the 60 Hz version. It runs beautifully, no slowdown, so... I'm not going to go into it here, but the Mega Man fans out there who know what I'm talking about, you're going to be very happy. So 60 Hz, no slowdown, was Mega Man 3 Hardman stage. It looks great, so be excited about that.
And, this is a Genesis Mini game. How was it? How was the Genesis Mini itself?
I didn't get a huge look at the front end, the actual system menus, but It looked, from what I saw, it looked pretty elegant. It looked minimalist, elegant. Switching between games seemed to be easy, but I know, Steve, you and I have an appointment to check it out tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be playing the Genesis Mini at length tomorrow, so hopefully we'll get to see all the games. I'm really excited to check it out. Andre and I played a little bit of the Genesis Mini on that huge Genesis controller, which was uncomfortably sticky. But we played a little bit of Sonic 2, and we almost got to the end of the level. Sega was restricting everyone to one life because I think a few folks were hogging it.
Of course.
But that was actually surprisingly fun. Yeah. It is a challenge. I had to rest my hand in the middle of the D-pad, which is bigger than an entire Genesis controller.
Right.
Uncomfortably sticky is what I would define E3 as. That's just the perfect phrase.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
You're welcome for the marketing tagline, ESA.
On that note, though, I think I'm going to get out of here.
Right.
And let some other people come in.
Yes.
So I think you're staying for this one, right?
I am. So we're going to scooch over and get Andre back in here.
This guy from talking, Andre. Oh, thank you.
Okay. I was going to scooch over, but that works.
Clearly, we've rehearsed this.
All right. I think Tom's coming in too. I think, right?
Right.
All right. See you guys later.
All right. All right. We're bringing the A team in here.
All right.
My last name does start with an A.
That's true. It does. All right. So,
and my first name starts with an A. Yeah.
Shabash. All right, Tom. You got around today playing some indie games, right?
Yes, I did.
Lay it on us. What did you play?
Well, I played actually 5 games today, but I'm going to focus on ones that we know are coming to Switch, despite everything being good for Switch. Starting off with Killer Queen Black. This game was at E3 last year in Nintendo's booth. This year it was in Indiecade, and it was only actually on PC, but it is still coming for Switch. And there actually is an open beta right now, so it's probably pretty similar to that, but with Killer Queen, it's an arcade game, right? You don't expect them to do too much to it, but they've actually done a lot of work in the last year, which is why it didn't come out in spring like we thought. Now, Andre, you might be surprised to hear this, but now the worker guys, they can have a shield upgrade. Instead of leveling up, they just hold a shield. So if you're on the snail, you can have a shield and then take 2 hits, for instance.
That is kind of crazy to me. Yeah, so it sounds like, I played the game a bit before, but they've really changed it even more since I played it several months ago. So, given the fact that you have played Killer Queen itself, the original game a lot, how does it feel to you now compared to the original?
It still feels pretty similar. You're holding a controller. You're not on a giant flat arcade cabinet. That would be the main difference in my mind. And I haven't played the arcade one a ton, so I don't have it ingrained in my mind. Yeah, I'll have to fix it at one point. stuff like there are way more levels now too, so it's far more noticeable the differences. And the designer was there, and something hilarious is that one of our friends last year asked, "Hey, so this snail, there's 3 ways to win. So one of them is to get the snail, ride it to the other side to kind of a finish line, and the way to delay it is to put your guy in front of the snail and be eaten, so the snail stops." And he said, what if that's happening and you could push that guy in the snail? And I mentioned how my friend said this, and he's like, yeah, we've actually tried that, but everyone kept going around the snail and it was too busy for what we wanted the game to be, so we got rid of it. And so they're constantly iterating the game, so I think they'll keep working on it even after this game is out, is my guess.
Well, I had a question for you, because I know we were all pretty excited when it was delayed. Because it seemed like what we played at PAX last year was pretty much ready to go.
Yes, they could have just released it.
So do you feel like what you played today was reflective of everything they've been working on and clearly adding and tweaking?
Yeah, I think so. What we played last year is more like, well, you just take the arcade and here it is on Switch. But now it feels like, whoa, they've actually expanded on it quite a bit.
Did you play on the stage where the snail can drop off one of the ledges? And
No.
Okay, I just wanted to address that at all, because there was no way to get the snail back up the wall. So I was wondering if you were the other teams, I was wondering if they did anything with that. So
one thing in one of the stages, I forget if this is an arcade or not, but there's areas where you can fall through normally, but there's kind of a rope going across, and the snail just continues on that rope.
Oh, interesting. All right.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to play that when that comes out. Does it have a release date yet, or?
Still Q3.
Okay. Wow. That was quite a bit of delay,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
it really was. Yeah.
Online network play they're adding in, I guess. So
Good
that's
stuff.
gonna
That's
take
good.
some time.
Yeah.
I mean, not a huge team. The other game I played was Overland. This was at GDC on Switch, but it was actually too popular for us to play at the event. So it's nice to get to play it now. And that game I actually played 2 years ago. And it's kind of the same core idea is still there, where it's kind of something along the lines of a 16 by 16 square you're in. And the goal is to escape to the other side. But the whole thing is, they basically built these little grids all across a map of America. You're trying to go across
It's like Risk, kind of, but
well, it's like
Well, that's
more of a
worldwide.
straight line, and you can choose different branching paths, whether to get more fuel for your car or to pick up weapons, because it's basically...
it's like Cruising USA.
Well, it's in the apocalypse, and there's these insects that come up that will kill you, and you have a little stick, you hit them, they die fairly easily, but then I found out you die fairly easily as well, and your car only takes about 3 hits.
Oh, wow.
And if it explodes, you can still get out of that square, but then you go into a challenge square to get out of, where it's actually far harder. I had a team of 3. You try to collect people. Only so many people can fit in your car, and I ended up with 1. Fortunately, the guy Harris, he would cringe whenever I might be doing a mistake that wasn't good because it's turn-based. So I could kind of go off that and beat it. I think that's the way to do it, guys, booth attendants. Don't tell me what to do. Just sort of cringe if it looks like I'm doing it wrong.
I want there to be a new helper mode in games. There's just some dude's head in the corner. So was that fun?
It was definitely fun. It was intense and stressful. I guess like Majora's Mask, having the moon coming down. This game,
Something I love.
yeah, this game, it's like, well, there's a pressure of, do I sacrifice this guy to get gas? Do I get gas, or do I go over there and get this stick? Because you only have a limited number of movements per turn, and then you have to let the enemies go. So,
Okay. Any other indie games you played, or?
well, the one that stood out the most that probably will come to Switch one day, based off VVVVVV coming out. It's Terry Kavanagh's Dicey Dungeons. It's got music by Chip Soul. She was actually there showing the game today. That was neat.
So jealous that you
I
got
know.
to meet her. So jealous.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. I was everything meshed so well in that game. I guess the design, the music, the art. It was a genre that's kind of like Slay the Spire that I'm not familiar with, but it only uses a mouse, and I got the hang of it within 1 or 2 minutes. And I'm worried that when it comes out, I'm going to play that for far too many hours.
Nice. Now, I think you also played something else for the first time today. Was it today for the first time, Luigi's Mansion? I think, or had you played?
Ash got to
I
play
played
it
Okay,
the
that was your
first
first time. Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
So to preface this a bit, if you've never been to E3, you may not know that when you wait in line to go play a game, you're not just playing a game by yourself, being left to your own devices. You often have a handler with you, or an assistant, as if you will, who just, is there to make sure you have the best possible time, guide you, basically treat you like you've never played a video game before in your life.
Chaperone.
Right, exactly, a gaming chaperone. So I got to play Luigi's Mansion 3 today, and I had a great time, but I was flanked by this really intense handler who would not let me even explore without being like, oh, go over there, that's how you beat this room, do you need help? So it was very guided.
You need the facial expression guy from...
yeah. It was very guided. I wish I had more chance to kind of figure it out on my own, but I had a good time. I'm not like a Luigi's Mansion diehard enthusiast like you, obviously, but I like it. And I had a great time. The new slam move is a blast
it's
to
really
use.
good.
I love it. And especially when you fight the boss, just seeing Luigi slam the boss over and over again, I'm like, Luigi, you're cool now. I love this. And the only thing I'll say that I need some getting used to was the right stick control.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was a little like I kept going up and down and kind of not pointing the vacuum in the right direction a lot of the time.
It's confusing because you get when you start either charging your flashlight, I believe, or vacuuming, you get locked in that direction. So you effectively start strafing around. But then you can still aim up and down, I think also with gyro controls. Which gets a little bit confusing, especially when you're like aiming a plunger. This is kind of a lot to keep track of, I feel like, in this time.
There is.
Control-wise. Particularly once you add Luigi into the mix.
Yeah. Which I really enjoyed that.
He's cool.
Yeah.
It's
that one
addition.
puzzle room, that vertical puzzle room where you have to use Luigi to get up and down the elevator and get basically both Luigis down on the bottom floor. A lot of fun. Really cool design. And I just like Luigi because he's kind of creepy. Like, it's just weird,
He's very
right? Like,
creepy.
I wouldn't like have my back to Luigi ever. I mean, I'm sure he's here to help, but
But he has your back. That's such a rude thing to say.
He does, but I don't know. I don't know if I trust him. He's weird, man.
He literally lives in Luigi's back. On his...
Right, that's true. But I do love the idea of co-op.
I was going to say creepy, but not in a Smash Luigi creepy kind of way.
Exactly.
That's a whole next level kind of creepy. Imagine if that Luigi had a Luigi.
But no, in general, I think the thought of playing co-op like this, because we were playing single player and just switching between. Just the thought of playing co-op with this sounds like a blast to me.
I agree. Yeah.
So I really had a good time, especially as someone who I didn't really get into the second game as much. I kind of skipped over it mostly. I played like half of it. It wasn't my thing. This is something I want to go in and play and like really enjoy. So
yeah, definitely something to dive into once it comes out. It's hard to see how exactly this will fit within the grander scheme of the game. I think that's maybe one thing I didn't get a great sense of is is the overall structure of the game, which we wouldn't quite get in a demo normally. I feel like there is a larger question there in this case specifically.
Exactly. Well, one thing I did notice is that at least the boss arena seemed to be a little more open air, like open than Luigi's Mansion environments usually are. There's a lot of room for him to run around.
Yeah, we're outside,
which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're doing with a slightly different design this time. But I do hope, I know you agree with me, that it's more like Luigi's Mansion 1 structure with one large place to explore as opposed to a mission-based structure.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I played the demo again today with John. And we went in with a mission of trying to find all the swords. There's like 5 or 6 hidden swords in each area, seemingly.
Right. I got 2 of them.
We got 3. I think I got 2 in my playthrough. I think John got 3.
Okay.
And we were gonna keep looking forever until we asked like the attendant, how many are are they here? And she's like, no, I don't think they are. I think it's just like the 3 you found and that's it. So so I'm glad we asked that. Otherwise we would have been there all day looking for freaking swords.
And we don't know what those do yet.
No idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Another thing I like was the dark light ability. Was that in?
That was in Dark Moon.
Okay. Okay. So that was pretty cool, just revealing hidden objects with the dark light. I found that one door just intuitively, and of course, my handler was like, "Oh wow, you really know what you're doing. Like, I guess you play games." I'm like, "I opened with that. It said I'm media. I'm here. Like I." Come on. So
what about the plunger? What did you think of the plunger?
That I was gonna say, I like that a lot.
It's a neat addition.
The plunger's really cool. It's satisfying to fire that little pop that comes out, and it's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's a little bit redundant because the vacuum already has a pull function.
Yes. Sure.
But I mean, I guess it has more functionality than just acting as a pull.
Right.
But yeah, I'm curious to see how that fits in the larger, context of the game.
Right.
So.
And I guess the last thing that really struck me was Luigi's facial animations.
They're so good.
He is so expressive.
I mean, not just facial, even his body animation.
Even it's true, even his body. Yeah, he's just incredibly expressive in this game, and I think Luigi's Mansion fans, so far from what we've seen, are going to be quite pleased.
Yep.
We'll see. So anyway, that is all for me. We got to get Amy back in here, I think, for Link's Awakening.
Okay. That's right.
All right.
She had an awakening to Link's Awakening. This is what happens when I'm just left to my own devices. All right. I forget, did you play it too, Tom, as well today?
I got to play it another time with sound today, so
That's
I got
right.
a far better impression than yesterday.
Excellent. It's good to hear. So, Amy, this is your first time actually playing Link's Awakening ever? Did you play the original?
I've never played it before.
Oh, wow. All right.
Today was the first time.
Now, I have to set the stage here real quick, because before you played it, I also played it, and you were filming me playing it, and I went in with the sole goal of, I should be looking at the camera, the sole goal of stealing something from the shop owner. And I kid you not, I spent the entire freaking 15 minutes of that demo trying every way to get out of that freaking shop with that shovel, and I could never figure it out. I mean, I did it like the original game. I tried reversing, I tried everything I could think of, and could never steal the freaking shovel. And then you decided to play it. You tried it yourself.
They gave us another turn since I hadn't played. They were like, why don't you try it?
And you got in 30 seconds. Like,
Well,
3 attempts and you had
not
it.
30 seconds.
I'm pretty sure 30 seconds. It might be less, actually. So yeah, I was impressed and disappointed in myself from that. But
we thought you would have it though. There were several times where it seemed his back was to the door,
Yeah.
and
he's a jerk.
180.
He has a new security system, it seems, that you
Yeah.
found a way around. So, anyways, yeah, what are your thoughts on Link's Awakening? And
Well, first of all, I love the art style. It's completely adorable. I love how vibrant it is. It's got that really cool like vignette focus thing going on with the. Like, I don't know what that would be called, the aperture or something.
Yeah, like
the
almost like it
the
tilts.
outer ring is out of focus, sort of, so it really focuses in on that center area. It seems like, especially with the demo, they just let you do whatever. It didn't seem totally linear at all. It seemed like you could go explore. We found a sword in the beach. I think there's like Goombas later on I saw in the trailer, so that's really cool to see the cameos. Yeah, it was really fun. And it's cool that was still in there, that the stealing mechanic.
Yes, I thought I was gone initially, but you proved
Yeah.
otherwise.
The game's
Yeah.
just been reimagined, like Final Fantasy VII already.
I
That's
felt
all.
kind of bad with the chicken section though.
Oh,
with
yeah,
the
because
cuckoos.
Something else we had tried before was upsetting the cuckoos,
Yeah.
whatever, and it's driving me cuckoo. And we hit it like 20 times, didn't do anything. But then you cornered this chicken, this poor,
I was like, I'm determined.
this
We're
poor
gonna try
helpless
this.
chicken. You cornered, and just laid into it with your sword.
Someone said if you hit it enough times, it'll change.
And sure enough.
So I was like, you know what? We're not leaving this to chance. We're gonna corner this thing. But I felt really bad.
Now you shouldn't. That chicken's asking for it.
Yeah, see, I was like, I spent 30 seconds wailing on one of them, and it's like, I don't want my whole demo just to be this and have nothing happen. I gave up.
So, Tom, what did you think of playing with it again, and this time with sound?
Well, it was a lot better. I love Link walking on the beach, the crunchy sand
Oh, yeah.
steps. It made all the attacks have more weight behind them. I felt like there wasn't enough, like when you're using your shield to block, like John was saying, there's a lot to it. And for me, it's like, no, there's not so much. Well, apparently sound helps in that. And the Nintendo rep gives a hint that, hey, if you go to the crane game with 10 rupees, you can pick up that powder to just stun the raccoon. So I tried that.
To save you time and gain
save
your
you time.
attention, yeah.
Time in theory, because it took me 4 times to get to the
Took you a while to
timing
get
right
the money.
of the crane. But yeah, eventually I did that and get to the dungeon. The dungeon looked great. Everything is it's a lot more than what you could ask for a remake, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, as Amy touched on, the art style I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
It has like that tilt shift look to it, where
Yeah.
you know it makes everything look like a toy, which everything already did as well. So like it looks even more
But it
toy
seems
like.
like
Yeah.
a little toy, like the way it's zoomed
Exactly.
in so
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
I really
it's
think
cute.
it augments the the kind of the themes behind the game without spoiling anything. And also you kind of touched on something too that I had almost forgotten. It's kind of like how open the game feels, even though it kind of isn't too. Like it is largely a linear driven experience, but you get a lot of area to explore and multiple ways to go about it. Like as Tom touched on, getting the magic powders to go into the mushroom. And that world keeps broadening. So it's got like a unique feel to it. I think a lot of Zelda fans are going to appreciate, especially if they haven't played Link's Awakening before, because this does seem to be the definitive way to play.
Yeah.
With especially with you having a larger inventory or larger button access for stuff. So, anyways, I think that's our cue to look at that, adorable.
Can't really see it, but it's this
maybe
cute little Link.
just throw it at the camera.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's broken.
You can put it in the camera.
All right, I think.
But one other thing
yeah.
I forgot to mention: holding the shield and then like darting the the sword. Isn't that a new thing? Like the last one, didn't you have to go in and out of menus?
You did have to go a lot in and out menus. I forget if you could do that specific thing, but the combat in general has been advanced in this game. There's more to it.
It felt so smooth because I feel like I could really quickly get the shield, like hold it up there and then quickly just slash away. It just felt really quick. It felt super responsive in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, no, it totally does. I agree. The combat definitely feels more fluid this time, whereas I think I may have said before, but on the Game Boy, it felt like you're poking enemies. Here, it feels more like a proper combat experience.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts on Link's Awakening or anything else?
Well, let's just see. I hope that frame rate gets fixed up for the final one, but if that does, I think everything else is great.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I think we're about done here because we've went on way longer than we expected to already.
So tired.
So yes, we haven't even eaten yet. So we're gonna go do that, and what you should do is click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and that bell to stay notified of more videos coming from us from E3 tomorrow on day 3. Probably no day 3 wrap up, but we'll have lots of other stuff to augment it. So with that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later. Bye.
Bye.
All right.